Called meeting of the Hopkinsville Committee of the Whole to order, and I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Francis.
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Councilmember Marsh.
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Here.
Councilmember Craig. Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Wilcox.
Here.
Councilmember Meek. Councilmember Lumberger.
Here.
Councilmember Keel.
Here.
Councilmember Bell. Councilmember Handy.
Present.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, all the ones out did let us know they weren't going to be here tonight. And so if everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Go ahead and jump right down to approval of minutes. Minutes are in your packet. We'll entertain a motion on those.
So moved.
Second.
I've got Smiley and Leinenberger. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And I see that our first guest under administrative matters, Chief Futrell, is waiting on us. So
Good evening, everyone. So this is our first quarter report for 2024. It's not popping up here. As you can see, we had 1,021 fire incidents, with most of those being rescue emergency medical calls. These are our fires. We had 13 residential fires. Those are structure fires in homes, 9 vehicle fires, 11 outside fires, and 4 fires that were non-residential structures, factories and such like that. Notable calls, 43 is a lot of fires for us. We did have 3 motor vehicle collisions involving pedestrians, and then we had the landfill fire in March, which was a pretty significant fire for us. We had several public safety events, which some of you were at. The Baby Safe Haven box was big for us. Parks and Rec, and then we went to schools quite a bit. For EMS, we were busy as always with 2,742 calls, with the majority of those being 911 calls, which is normal for us. Are there any questions on that?
roll into item B there.
All right. So for code enforcement, I will say that the code enforcement, we changed our software to Acela. It's our new program. We are going to start getting better reports. We are just now able to do ward reports, so I'll be able to send those out. It will be in my upcoming presentations. But what I have for you tonight is total incidents. We had 238 total incidents in the first 3 months, with 32 complaints, 46 vehicles, 89 property standards, and 50 property maintenance. Now, what I will say is of those numbers and what we have done to date is we have demoed 15 structures that were unsafe. Some of those structures had been sitting for years. 4 of those 15 were burnouts, were fires that were just uninhabitable. And we also have 7 more structures that have been approved from the board for demo that are just waiting. So we will have those down in the next probably 6 weeks. And I'll be happy to share those addresses with y'all. If y'all want them, just reach out to me and be glad to give them to you. But a lot of those are ones that have come to us with concerns that have been sitting for a while that we've been able to get to the board and get approved for demo.
Chief Futrell, about how many structures in Hopkinsville would totally qualify in that category?
Right. So that's what we're attacking now. I know like we have 7 more that are approved for demo, but we are going through these neighborhoods daily and getting input. We have 5 more, I believe, going to the board at the next board meeting. So they're now. I'll also say that 8 other structures we've demoed that the property owner demoed that ran through us that they paid to demo themselves. So there are a lot. And it's a process, and we have to go take it to the board and get it approved. Some of them that are fires that we can just do through the fire side that are unsafe. So we do those on emergency demo. But there's a lot, and it's not easy to demo one, but some of these have been sitting for years and are just, they're safety hazards, and we get complaints a lot. You know, their kids are there going in them, and their neighbors are concerned, and the neighbors are upset. So we get a lot of positive feedback from these demos, and even a lot of times the homeowners are not, there's not a lot of issue with them either. So,
So you don't really have
No,
exact number.
that's a tough number, especially with us just getting into it. Tom may have something, but that's, and that's constantly changing as well. So that number is things happen in storms.
I don't want to put any,
Yeah.
bad light on that because I've heard positive comments myself from residents saying, they're so glad that these things are being cleaned
Right.
up.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. Everything has
job.
been positive so far that
Good.
we've received. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief Futrell. Now we're going to call on Mr. Dave Herndon, I believe, for the quarterly Public Works Department report.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm not gonna do half the stuff I wanted to just for time's sake. So I'm gonna go through this briefly, and if you guys have any questions, you can certainly ask. As we normally do, our quarterly reports in your packet, but for the purpose of our presentation tonight, we're gonna highlight a couple of things, as Chief Futrell just mentioned. The abatement side of the ACELA implementation and the intergovernmental support agreements we have with Fort Campbell. So first, I'm going to go through the ACELA implementation for abatement. We have received 238 properties to abate for grass, trash, and weeds in 2024. And that does not include basic property maintenance and junk abandoned vehicles. That number, we all have access to ACELA, everybody that's a supervisor or above, and so we can log in and see any of the code enforcement activity that's going on. So we log in and see junk abandoned vehicles and just a slew of basic property maintenance stuff, as Chief Futrell just mentioned. Some of the houses that are coming down, my guys have been asking me for years, when are these houses coming down? So just wanted to throw that out there as well. And we've abated about 193 properties. And I wanted to go through the old way. We used to do that. Go ahead, Thomas. Thank you. So this, he's out there. He's taking pictures with probably a 15-year-old SD card in it, and this was earlier this year. So Jeff would take pictures before and after abatement. They'd hand fill out a slip, and like you see here, you've got X amount, X amount of hours of employee hours on this, and a couple hours on a mower, et cetera, and all that would be added up to get that total abatement fee, which would be what we would file against, what would we enter into the old system. Now it's all done. See if it'll recognize my face. It's all done on this. Our abatement team goes out, they take a picture with their tablet, they abate the property, they take another picture afterwards, and as they're going to the next job, they can sit there and enter how many hours they had on for themselves, for the truck, for the mowers, for the tractor, for the weed eater. It is a huge time saver for the administrative side of things, which is getting back when it gets back to Carrie. Carrie doesn't have to look at 1,000 pictures of grown-up lots and then mown lots and try to figure out which picture went with which and all that kind of stuff. So it's really so easy. We kind of get in a race, a competition to see I can go in and enter it. It carries out. Anybody can enter it. It's really a great system, and we just want to commend you all for approving the budget. And I think Troy had some previous experience with ACELA.
Council, with that sort of thing, he's getting giddy over technology that's 15 years old. He used that new one. And it's a shame the way we're processing. This is nothing new. So again, thank you for bringing us up to this thing.
And this is doing some of the things that I did working up to us doing it. ACELA is a robust piece of software. You can do a lot. You can do a lot with it, a lot. So in the future, we may look at expanding our activities with that. But right now, I think it's on our side of things, it's going very well. Second thing I want to talk about is our Fort Campbell exits. Thomas, I'm not going to worry about that. I was going to enter a case and show you guys how easy it is, but I'm not going to take you guys' time with that. So you can go to the next slide, Thomas, if you would. Our intergovernmental support agreements, these are our agreements we have with Fort Campbell. So just to highlight some of the things, we completed an 18-ton order for salt in fiscal year 23-24. Total over our 5-year arrangement, we've ordered 51, almost 5,200 tons of salt from Fort Campbell. And during the same time period, the city's ordered 650. So that's how much more salt Fort Campbell purchases than we do. And we're getting the advantage of being able to tell the bidders that we're going to buy 2,200 tons of salt. And we get that price. We get that 2,200 tons of price reduction. So versus 200, they're going to go out of their way for freight to get that contract. So we get a lot better price with that. On street signage, this year we've installed 238 decorative signs. They're going to something you might be driving through and see in Jockey Subdivision or in Great Oaks. We install decorative street signs down on post. We're looking at expanding that work on going down the road, but that's a current 5-year IGSA that we're in year 4 of. Just quickly circling back to road salt, we just entered in, if you all recall, a few months ago, we had a 5-year arrangement on road salt. We just entered into a 10-year arrangement on road salt, and there is some little bit more financial advantage to that. So the numbers I'm going to show you here toward the end, those are probably going to start ticking up a little bit more in our favor as well. On pavement markings, so far we've done over 1.1 million. This is just this fiscal year. We've done 1.1 million linear feet of pavement markings on posts. That's just road striping, and that's 219 miles. If you're bored and curious, so you might think there's not 219 miles of road in Fort Campbell. Well, you got to think every foot of road has 4 feet. If you have double center lines and 2 edge lines on the side of the road, every foot of road has 4 feet. So that's kind of how you got to think about it. So also with the equipment we were able to purchase with this IGSA, we have been able, we sort of look at the roads that need painting the worst here in town. And the ones we've done this year are Conference Center Drive, Mount Zord Latham Road, which is our maintenance up to up to solid waste, Pile Lane, and Bill Bryan Boulevard for about $3,000 in materials and labor versus us having to get a contractor in. They charge us about $26,000. So that's just the savings that we're seeing having this done. So with COVID and with the Texas freeze, we got off to a very rocky start with pavement markings, but we've turned that around quite a bit. In fiscal year 22-23, we had $267,000 of revenues over expenditures, and I'm projecting about $220,000. I'm going to send them another bill tomorrow so we can have it paid by the end of try and have it paid by the end of the fiscal year. So we're hoping to land about $220,000 of revenues over expenditures for this fiscal year. So it's been a great benefit to us. If we're we have not only the striper truck, we have 2 additional pickup trucks, 5 additional staff members, that when it's out storming or when we're out plowing snow, they're not obviously down on Fort Campbell doing road striping and installing signs. They're in town working for the city. So it's been a great boon to us, and we're looking at possibly expanding that relationship. We're in communication with them, so there are opportunities there that we're working with them on. So I think it's been a challenging start, but it's starting to really produce some benefits for the city. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them. I got some video if you guys want to see what the truck looks like. So this is the paint truck, and Thomas, you guys might see Thomas's YouTube history at the end of this. So. And if you think about it, a lot of people, when they drive on post, they think about on post, like up by the airport or up by, this is on post to me. And this is on post to the guys. There's the back, what we call, what a lot of people call the back 40. That there are hundreds of thousands of acres on Fort Campbell. There are hundreds of miles of road. So that's part of that. And then Thomas, that next slide, if you would, there's a follow-up video. And this is, you see the type of post we're using. They've elected to go with that post. So see the type of post we're replacing. We pull up the old sign, assemble the new sign, and put it up. So that's about, you're looking at about $1,100 worth of sign right there that we build to Fort Campbell. So it's the, up until this point, the sign work has been keeping us afloat, but now the striping work is really starting to pay dividends as well. So
3 garrisons ago, before he left, he told us he wanted the post to look like a gated community. So they wanted a certain type of striping. Some of the decorative signs, he wanted acorns instead of direction.
I've got a question, Dave.
yes, sir.
When you get, I know every year you all go through and you rank what streets in the city need to be paved,
Mhm.
1, 2, and 3, whatever. And then I'm assuming you take the top 10 or whatever versus the budget, and then you bid that out. Do you have a list of what you know or relatively sure that's going to be done this year?
Yes, yeah, we do.
Can you send that out to us? I mean,
I don't see any problem with
I don't think we need the whole thing, but I'd just like to know the first top 10. That way, if somebody calls, I can say, hey, yeah, it's on the list, or
No,
no.
That's no problem. We've already got that list developed, and it's been through everybody, and we kind of got a, for example, Commerce Court. I hadn't scored Commerce Court yet, and Mike said, how's Commerce Court look? And I went out and scored it. I was like, oh, that's one of the worst streets in the city. So, and that's going to be a chunk. That's going to be $130,000 of our paving allocation is doing Commerce Court, because it's a big, wide industrial street. So
while we're talking about it, just for the public's benefit, can you explain how they're ranked and how we choose what we do each year and why we don't do them all?
oh, well, sure. Well, we don't do them all because we don't have enough money to do them all. But what we are able to get in MRA funds, and we divide the 9 out of $10 of MRA funds into street paving probably. We use a system called Road AI from Vizsla, and it is basically a cell phone that is mounted in your vehicle, and we drive around. We've driven every street in the city of Hopkinsville, and that system scores it in pavement condition index, PCI, which is a fairly standard scoring mechanism. And that combined with a little common sense, it will be 95% on point, and then we'll go back and apply a little human touch to it and develop our paving list based on that. But just for your knowledge, I know you're a privacy guy. All the cars are blobbed out. You can't see any cars. If somebody's walking by on the street, it's blobbed out. So you can't, there's nothing
Right.
you can discern from that except for the streets. So it's pretty neat little deal that it's not costing us a lot of money to do. So.
Thank you.
Anything else for Dave? All right, thank you, Mr. Herney. As always, we appreciate it. So now we're going to move down to our monthly agency and board council appointee reports, and we all just can't wait to hear what Councilmember Martin's been up to.
Short and sweet. All right, so I serve on 4 boards. The E911 board that meets quarterly when necessary. We haven't met in a while, but there is a meeting later on this month. Stormwater Utility Board meets monthly to address issues of stormwater drainage in the city. And that board is set to address the committee of the whole in July, is it? Last I heard, yeah, July. So they'll be here soon. Ambulance board last met while I was on vacation. So, but I am hearing the new billing company is working out great. And so far it seems to be a huge success so far. And the fourth one is the Southwestern Kentucky EDC. That meets monthly. Carter has briefed the council recently and on the projects, and you all pretty much know what I know there, so there's nothing really to report.
All right, well, thank you. And Chuck, I know you're the one that kind of asked for the stormwater updates, and I don't know if I told you or not, the reason we were going to do it this month, but one of their key people was on vacation.
Right.
Once we moved it because we had a conflict with a other big event next week.
Right,
So
right.
we're hoping they're going to get in here next month.
They will.
Keep our
Looking
fingers
forward
crossed.
to it.
All right, so we've got no unfinished business. So now we're going to call on Mr. Mike Perry to go over this new street renaming policy. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank y'all. Good evening. One thing that we've been talking about in-house is, because we've had a lot of street renaming requests in the last 6-7 months, more than we have in the last 22 years. So we decided that we need to have a street naming policy in place, make sure that we're fair across the board when we look at these. And so this has been revised. I actually drafted this, and it's been revised a little bit through the administration. But we all agree that this is a good policy. We actually reviewed what other cities were doing, and this is pretty much standard what most cities are doing. And so we feel like we got to have this in place now. And of course, something that I'll share with y'all, sometimes people don't think, but when you rename a street, if you think if you're a resident, you got to change your banking information, your credit cards, you got a slew of things you got to do. If you own a business,
Oh, it's worse.
you got even more than that, because you got advertisement, you got business cards, you got letterheads, things like that. So it gets pretty costly. So we went through that even with on East 21st Street when it was renamed Bill Brown Boulevard with Mr. Bell and so forth there at State Farm. But, it cost him some money to change over that, all his stuff over to that new street name. So we want to make sure we're very conscious of that and make sure now that we, are thinking about that when we have these street renamings. And that's why we're looking at it having 100% people on that street to agree to do that, just because it affects everybody. And that's pretty common what most cities are doing. I did see a few cities that were doing 75%, of the residents on the street now had to commit to it. But I'm recommending 100% just because I think it's fair to do that. Everybody should weigh in and agree to that, or we shouldn't be renaming that street. Of course, like I said, this is just mainly make sure that we're uniform across the board when we do this. I'm not going to go over everything, but I will kind of touch a little bit based on the street classification. Of course, no street should be named that's already in the county or similar in the street in the city. I mean, it's going to have to be a totally different name, nothing close. Of course, no duplications. The assistant street name, if it has significant historical value to the city, we wouldn't want to rename a street, if you already had that. Of course, the street name request to be renamed is perceived to be offensive to segments of the city or citizenry. We should not even consider that. If the pro street name is longer than 14 characters, and the reason we got to do that is because you have a big long sign that we can't get more than 14 characters on. So it's an issue there. Also, if the street name is proposed after relates to a living person, that person must be deceased before we rename. That's been standard across every city that I've looked at. So if somebody's living, we do not name a street after somebody's already living. It needs to be deceased. And if the proposed street name relates to a commercial entity or implies a commercial endorsement, we should not consider that. The way this is set up is, of course, Public Works would administrate this policy. Then we'll forward our recommendations to the mayor. Then the mayor will look at it, and we all make sure to agree upon it. And then, of course, then it'll be forwarded to city council for the actual approval of the street renaming. We also have to be mindful too that we'll have to go through the E911 board too. Let them review that too. Actually, it's not in this policy. We might have to amend that, but we probably need to put that in there because they'll need to review that also as part of the process before we send it to the mayor. But that is pretty much a little snapshot of what we're talking about here. I hope everybody had a chance to review it and look at it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mike on the street renaming policy?
So can that be amended at this point, like on page 21, under the review process? We would also put a bullet there that says it also must be reviewed by the E9 or ECC.
Yeah, we just need a motion to refer it on to council, and
Then
then
we'll make
that
an amendment.
language can be in there
Make a motion.
at council.
I have a discussion.
All right, Ms. Francis.
Thank you. On this 14 characters that you put out, where you said 14 characters, I'd like to put in a motion to change the 14 to 16. It's a combination motion. So it's the motion together would be from 14 to 16, the characters. It'll also be, I propose for the name honoring of the living, it's not being the living. I'd like to change that for where you don't, it's not really necessary, because I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of people to do that. But anyway, my discussion on this was because of our community and because of any extraordinary person to be recognized in the future, that give them an option. So the part where it says honoring only, we won't honor it because of the living. And then the other part at the end where it said they have to be passed away for 2 years. I'd like to put in a motion to have those recommendations be amended from 14 to 16 and the other 2 taken off.
What we need before we do that motion is we have a motion from Don, but we've yet to receive a second.
I like to-
Okay, so I've got Smiley give him a second. So now, okay, now just trying to keep everything parliamentary.
Right.
I have a
So-
question on the first.
I've got a question for Doug real quick, to be sure we're doing this right. Do we need to individualize each of those motions?
It would be best, because
Okay.
your motion has 2 counterparts, so you need to make up your motion to amend separately on each one would be
Okay, so
best.
do you want me to do it over? You ready?
Yeah, fire your first motion out there.
First motion is to remove the proposed street naming honoring the living only. Is that what you're saying? Honoring the living only?
I said the living can't be honored.
That's what I'm talking about, that it won't be on there. I wanted to take that off. I put a motion to remove that part.
So your motion is to remove the language that says
It will not be
that
named,
if the proposed street name honors a living person.
right.
A motion on the floor if the proposed street name honors a living person. Motion on the floor.
So I'll make a second to that.
We've got a second on that. Leinenberger. I want to roll call these, please.
Oh, well, you got discussion.
What discussion? Yeah.
Didn't we recently rename a street for a living person?
And that
Yes,
is a
we did.
different scenario because they owned all the land.
But it might happen again.
Okay, but that's not actually a contingency in here, is it? The living person, if they own all the land, that's not in here either.
church around it owned everything, they renamed in honor of Mr. Timberlake.
All we're saying is be mindful of this. We have seen organizations go back at Harvard, taking down the Shrapnel family, selling all that Oxycontin, Temple University taking Bill Cosby's names off dormitories and things like that. You don't want to put yourself in an embarrassing situation. We do it with good intentions, then you find out they're a monster, and it embarrasses the city, and we have to undo it.
Yes, but we also have to review it too as well as the city council, right? We're still gonna go over it, right?
But that's the thing, finding things out later. That's all. We just have to be mindful.
So Troy, so what you're saying is
As
you don't
we-
know what you're going to find out in 5 years compared to what you know today.
We just,
That-
my job is to protect the city, that's all.
Yeah, either way, it probably would be better to not cut yourself off to where you don't have any option and still coming back to try to amend it. So it's kind of like instead of cutting off your arm before you end up knowing you need it. So, it can be amended later if we have to, but I would rather it not say that, being that sometimes people do live to 90, 95. They may be still around here. They may have done some things extraordinary for Hopkinsville. And to wait till they pass to get them to get them to their family to name it after them. It really would be cutting off for the citizens because, like I said, we don't know what the future will be bringing. And we don't know if any of us or anybody, or even including the mayor, could be 95 years old and his family might decide to want to name a street that's right around the corner from him where he lived. And then just using it metaphorically. And then here it is, he's like, they can't do it because of this amendment. And it's just an option. It's not sealed. It can be changed.
But Councilmember, they can do it. They just do it after they pass. This doesn't stop the naming of a street. It's just being mindful. We have seen across the country, institutions having to take down names off museums, off streets, off school buildings, because we find out allegations later that human beings are quite human.
Yes, and I've seen other states too that named people while they were living
And
as well.
regret it.
No. They haven't regretted it. I haven't seen one that regretted it. So I'm just saying, it's an option. I'm just not trying to cut us completely off.
We just simply were advising you to be mindful, and that's,
Okay,
it's
thank
obviously
you.
it's your decision.
Let's vote.
Thank you.
Anybody got anything else on that?
Move the question.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna vote that, so to be sure I'm right, so if you vote yes, you're voting to eliminate the proposed street name honors a living person. You vote no, we're gonna leave it just the way it is.
The way it reads
The way it
currently.
reads
Okay.
currently in here, so a no vote keeps it like it is, yes vote changes. Everybody on board? Okay, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Martin,
No.
Councilmember Wilcox,
Yes.
Councilmember Limburger,
Yes.
Councilmember Keel,
No.
Councilmember Handy,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley,
No.
Councilmember Marsh,
Given the fact that we actually have a street naming, I vote yes.
Councilmember Crabtree,
No.
and we have 5 yes, 4 no. So it
That motion carries. All right. So, did we have another motion?
The last one was they have to be passed away, before they could do anything in 2 years.
So-
Is that correct? That's what it says?
What it
So
says.
that's the other one that I
So-
would like
so
to
you're-
get that removed.
So
I don't mind the 1 year, but the 2 years is more of,
your motion is to change 2 years to 1 year?
yeah, that'd be better.
Okay, that's the motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
All right, here's a second. So the motion
That
is
doesn't make,
change.
Isn't that the same
that doesn't make sense. I mean,
Can we clarify?
we just
No.
had that vote, correct?
No.
It's a different one.
The vote that we just made was if the proposed street name honors a living person.
Okay.
But, and Mike, and you might be able to tell me what page it's on. Somewhere in here, it says that the
Page,
person has to be
22.
deceased.
Page
for-
22
Page 22.
at the top.
Yeah, it says they have to
That's
be deceased for at least 2 years on that first paragraph of the street renaming request application. Nothing like the last sentence.
Okay.
So now we're gonna change it from 2 years to 1 year is what the motion on the floor is. Tracking?
Tracking.
I'm just, we're having a little trouble up here too.
Okay.
All right.
I guess my- I guess my only question is, didn't we just vote that they can be named for a living person? So they don't necessarily have to be deceased at this point because we just changed it, right?
It's in the thing.
Okay,
The motion's out there. We're gonna vote it.
But if they
Okay.
pass away, they gotta wait a year or
They-
2
okay.
years, depending on how we vote. But if you're still living, you can get a road named after you.
okay, fair enough.
The way I understand it.
Correct.
We got a motion. We're gonna roll with it. Let's do the same. Let's roll call it again.
Can we,
Can I
Oh,
just,
I'm sorry.
Question.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
No,
I
no.
would ask Mr. Willen, doesn't that seem to you to be in conflict with one another?
It does.
I think it is ambiguous with the first motion that, that sentence, it may be better just to delete
Omit
that
it.
sentence
Okay.
based on
Okay.
the first motion, if that would be acceptable.
Now,
Okay.
someone could retract the motion, make a new motion
No.
to simply eliminate the last sentence from that first paragraph on page 22.
We
I
could
can
just
retract
forward it to council with
this
that
last one.
deleted.
I'll retract
Okay.
the last.
You
So
can
we don't need to even make a motion. We're just gonna put a big X through there.
Okay, that's good.
All right. So we have the one
No, we-
change. We don't have to make another change according to Mr. Willen.
No, we send it to council as amended.
She has another
Yes.
motion.
Oh,
This is her new
Are you-
amendment.
is that all your motions?
That's,
Oh.
That's it?
that's it.
No.
The
That's
one,
what she said. Is it? She's
Okay.
answering for herself.
the one that where we took it to a year, we don't have to
Okay.
worry about that one anymore.
All right. So,
He eliminated
so
the
now
last
we
sentence.
have the motion
This is not eliminated.
by,
It's not?
No.
He said it's not eliminated.
This last sentence is not eliminated, is that correct?
It is eliminated.
It is.
he said we don't have to have a motion for that. It will
We-
just be
we will-
deleted when it comes back to council.
We will,
They'll take it out.
Okay,
As amended.
thank you.
in order to be consistent with the first motion.
That was the clarification I was looking for. Thank you.
Sorry, Don, the dog will catch its tail eventually. Here we go.
Eventually, yes.
Mr.
So
Haney.
before we forward this, I've just got a general question. I've been working with an individual, and I know the mayor is in the know about this. Troy may be. I spoke with Dave back in March, I believe, about a street renaming. Now, we send this to council. This takes effect, I guess, after the second vote, correct? Second reading. So I guess my question is, the one that I've been working on, will it get, I guess, godfathered in, or will it have to go through this same process? Though we started having conversations in March.
Yeah, the process will still be to get everybody on the road like we've done in the past, to get everybody
Okay.
to commit that they agree upon the road change, on the road name. But yes, I think you still get this passed, but we will still go ahead and push it through,
Okay.
just like
Based
we,
on the contingency there.
contingency of that, that's
Okay.
correct, yes.
So a follow-on question to that. So, because I am the same boat, I have people that are talking about street naming. So after we've read this, should I just give everybody a heads up to say we all need to be on the same page to agree to that?
On which one?
For the whole street agreeing to
Yes.
the name change?
Yes.
Just let people.
We normally do that anyways, though. It's just
Okay.
like, the process when we did East 21st Street. No, we sent out letters to everybody and talked to everybody to make sure they was agreeance before we actually went through the process of renaming the street.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Everybody. All good. Okay, so. So make sure I get
We need to
that.
forward it.
So
as
we need,
amended.
so we have the motion and a second to forward as amended, and it will go in as a municipal order at council meeting after next.
We need a motion?
No, we got that.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna say, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That was entertaining. A lot to keep up with. All right, well, that brings us down to item number 8, which I don't think will ask for any
Motion to
motions
adjourn.
on this, except to do it as is. Motion to adjourn by Martin, second by Mars. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.